Okay, if we start the live stream now. Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies.
Sorry, we're just starting now. Just getting it started. Chairman, you can start the meeting.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet. Welcome also to those members of the public and press who continue to join us via the live stream to YouTube. In that regard, may I take this opportunity to remind members and officers to turn their mobile telephones off or to silent, and to ensure that when addressing the meeting, they speak directly into the microphones, ensuring that the red light is on. Microphones should then be switched off when they're not in use. Agenda item 1. Would Member Services please report any apologies for absence?
Yes, we've had apologies from Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, we're being asked to approve the minutes which are on pages 3 to 6 of the agenda pack as a correct record. That is of the meeting which took place on the 8th of December 2021. May I ask any member who does not agree with the minutes to indicate that now, please? I see no objections to the proposal to approve the minutes as a correct record, so they are now agreed and I will sign them. Thank you. Agenda item 3, there are no urgent items. Agenda item 4 is to receive any declarations of interest under the local code of conduct or any interest under the code of conduct on planning matters in respect of any items to be discussed at this meeting. If you have anything to declare, please can you inform the meeting now? No hands are raised, thank you. If anything occurs to any of you during the course of the meeting, would you please declare the interest immediately? Thank you very much. Agenda item 5 is the Freedom Leisure update, which we have on pages 7 to 10 on the agenda. Councillor Clark, unfortunately, is unable to attend today, so I will very quickly summarise that the report. Well, the report, you all will have read it. It clearly states what the current position is, the support that we've been giving to Freedom Leisure over the course of the last almost 2 years now. And the expectation that we have and the hope that we have that despite the impact of Omicron, which is still uncertain so far as Freedom Leisure is concerned, but despite the impact that Omicron has had, that we will be in a position come 1st of April for the ordinary contractual arrangements to be resumed. There is not a guarantee of that at this time, but that is certainly the expectation that we've got and what we and officers will be going to Freedom Leisure to discuss in the very near future. Are there any comments or questions from any members? I should ask, have a seconder, please, for the, thank you very much indeed, Councillor Hoy. Any comments or questions from any members? None? Any officers care to make a comment? Would be welcome if there's anything to elucidate on top of what's in the paper. Nothing? Then I'll put it to the, put this item to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much indeed. That was unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. The recommendations are agreed. Moving on to item 6, which is the March High Street project update and the funding review, which is on pages 11 to 22 of your agenda pack. This is being proposed by Councillor Seaton. Councillor Seaton.
Thank you, Chairman. As members can see from the report, the Future High Street Fund project to transform the middle of March is progressing well. A project of this nature does take some time in terms of planning, technical and engineering preparatory work, and that is the crux of the ongoing work at the moment. Members are heavily involved in the project, with a member steering group meeting regularly to address potential issues and advise officers on the direction that the draft design should take. The steering group includes town, district and county members. Whilst the report updates members on project progress and governance, I think that it is worth highlighting the images of Broad Street. You can see that the centre of the town is currently very focused on cars and not on people visiting the shops. The draft design highlights the amount of additional public space that people will be able to use in the future. A complete change to ensure that the town centre remains viable and a place to visit, to meet friends and spend time in. With regards to the work streams, the report lays out the current situation. Broad Street and Riverside are at a preliminary design stages, with a final design element to take place prior to procurement of the main contractor in autumn this year, with construction works anticipated to start in early 2023. The marketplace will be formally designed in the coming months, with construction then taking place this summer. With the potential development of Acre Road, we await the outcome of private developers' plans. It seems that our project may have galvanised developers to move forwards without public support. Finally, we expect to open the Vacant Shop Activation Fund to expressions of interest in the coming weeks. The recommendations for this report, Chairman, are that the Cabinet notes the positive progress of the report as detailed in this report, that Cabinet authorise the portfolio holder for social mobility and heritage to work with officers to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Cambridgeshire County Council to continue the collaborative partnership that already exists, taking the project through to its completion in 2023. The Cabinet authorises the portfolio holder for social mobility and heritage to work with officers to enter into an agreement with Cambridgeshire County Council, joint procurement service framework, supplier to develop final designs and the open tender procurement package for the Broad Street, Public Realm and Riverside work streams, as approved by the member steering group and the project board. And finally, the Cabinet authorises the portfolio holder for social mobility and heritage to work with officers to expedite the most efficient way of procuring and entering into an agreement with a supplier to develop designs for the marketplace workstream, as well as the construction of the final design, as approved by the member steering group and the project board. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed for proposing those recommendations, Councillor Seaton. May I have a seconder? Councillor Mrs. French. I now open the item for discussion, and I see Councillor Mrs. French first.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Seaton. You said about the planning application for Acre Road. Have you any idea when that application is likely to be have a decision on it? And it is disappointing that the applicant didn't have a discussion with you before, because part of the land belongs to Fenn and part of it belongs to another third party. The person who has submitted the application, we've been trying to talk to for over 20 years, but not interested. That really is disappointing. It may have a knock-on effect on Acre Road.
Yeah, I do share your frustration with that. Yes, as part of the land there in that proposed private development is FDC owned. You would have thought that they would have had discussions, but I have not received at the moment any date for when that application will come forward. So as soon as I find out, I will let everyone know. But at the moment, I haven't got that information.
Yeah, it would be useful because the application has been in for some months now.
Yeah, I totally agree. And thank you for the comment.
Thank you, Councillor Seaton. Any other comments from members? Does any officer wish to add to the comments which have been made? No.
Just,
Councillor Mrs. French.
yes, we look forward to our meeting tomorrow in the freezing cold. That includes officers, the chief exec, our MP and our combined authority mayor. Hopefully it's dry and not wet.
I understand it's going to be dry but extremely cold, Councillor French. So I think wrapping up is well a good recommendation.
And for that meeting, there will be no free passes for people to attend virtually. I'm afraid it's a compulsory personal meeting. Right, so thank you for that. There are no further speakers. The recommendations are set out on pages 11 and 12 and have been read out by the portfolio holder, and I'll now put them to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Again, that is unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. The recommendations have been agreed. Agenda item 7 is the authorisation to dispose of property by auction, which is on pages 23 to 42 of the agenda pack. This is to be proposed by Councillor Benny. Councillor Benny.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm very pleased to report that we've got another list of properties that are surplus assets for the council, and we'll be looking to take these to auction. There's a great deal of work being done on several of these to ensure that we get best value for these, and looking at any potential land increase in getting planning permission on some of these as well. So this, just to bring these forward, to the Cabinet would approve these, to bring these pieces of land forward for sale.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Benny. Do I have a seconder, please, for the motion? Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Seaton. I now open the item for discussion. Any members? Councillor Mrs. French.
Thank you, Councillor Benny. Councillor Benny, as you know, we've been out on site on several times in the piece of land at Upwell Road. You are aware that FDC do rent that to the dentist surgery. So I don't know whether you've had discussions with them if they would like to purchase it, or is it going to auction?
I'm aware that the dentist rents that as a car park at the moment. That's part of the ongoing work that's still there. I believe that the dentists are aware of the fact that we are looking to sell this land, and they will be contacted if it comes up for sale, and they will be given every opportunity that, as is everybody else, to bid for this land.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Benny. Any other comments from any members or officers? None. Okay. Since there aren't any further speakers, the recommendations are set out on page 23, and I'll now put the item to the vote. Those in favour, please show. Again, that is unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. The recommendations have been agreed. Agenda item 8 is to be found on pages 43 to 66 of the agenda pack, and this is the fees and charges for 2022-2023. This set of proposals for the revised fees and charges for the forthcoming year has been put, as is required, to overview and scrutiny early last week. We had a very thorough discussion on the subject, it has to be said, and eventually the proposal, as we have in front of us, was recommended by overview and scrutiny to be approved by Cabinet. And I'm more than happy to so propose. I think that it's worth commenting on one thing which was raised, and that is the licensing fees and the proposed increases in hackney carriage and private hire license charges. And that has been done for the recovery of the cost of new software to enable processes to become more digital. And it is anticipated that as a result, in future years, less officer time will be needed. So there will not be the necessity to have the same sort of increase in future years as we are seeing this year. And that's something I think we need to keep a very close eye on for 2023-24 when making sure that the appropriate fees are set for the hackney carriage and private hire license charges. I'll open this up for, first of all, may I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Murphy, caught my eye first. Thank you very much indeed. I'll open this up for discussion from the floor. Any comments, please? Councillor Tierney.
I think if I was a driver and I was told that the fees were going up for some new software, I might accept that, but then I would say that's going to save money in future. And so will we see a reciprocal lowering in cost in future years to reflect that? I don't suppose we will, but I do think it's a fair question nonetheless, and something we ought to address.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney, for that comment. And I think that it is an entirely appropriate comment to make. And it is what I was alluding to when I introduced the subject. I think we need to watch very carefully what the situation is so far as the hackney carriage and private hire licence charges is concerned. And well in advance of next year's budget, we ought to consider exactly the point that you're making. If it does turn out, as is suggested, as is planned, that there will be significantly less officer time that is required for this particular matter as a result of the software which is being purchased, then potentially we can look at a lower increase than otherwise might have been the case in 2023-24. We're not in a position to say that now, but it is a reasonable thing for us to take into account, and I'm sure that officers have made a note of that, and this will not be forgotten. Thank you very much indeed for that comment, Councillor Tierney. Any other comment from any members? None? Okay. Then I'll now put the item to the vote. The recommendations are set out on page 43. All those in favour, please show. Again, that is agreed unanimously. Thank you very much indeed. The recommendations have been approved. On agenda item 9, which are pages 67 to 90, we have the Council Tax Support Scheme, which I'm formally proposed. May I just have a seconder, please, for that? Councillor Mrs. French, thank you very much indeed. The Council Tax Support Scheme has gone through quite a lengthy process of consultation, as is required. There are no significant changes to the scheme overall. which is why the consultation period was rather less than might otherwise have been the case. But there are a number of clearing up operations here to try and smooth the administration of different elements of the scheme, the net effect of which in financial terms is pretty much zero. So this is not meant to be a cash generating process. It's meant just to make the whole process smoother and easier. And again, we are keeping largely in lockstep with our other partners within the Anglian Revenue Partnership to ensure that we don't create too many difficulties by having too many differences between the way in which we operate our system and the way that they may operate their systems. I'll now open the item for discussion. Any comments from any members, please? Councillor Miss Hoy.
Thank you. How do we think that the rates are going to go up, given that the financial situation in the country is due to get more difficult, and perhaps people are going to be in more financial hardship and claiming more benefits? Do we think that's going to have a massive impact on this or not?
Thank you very much for that question. I'll try and limit myself in the amount of time I use to answer it. We had a lengthy discussion 12 months ago at the corresponding meeting that we had of Cabinet about the situation then. And I made a fairly lengthy speech at the time, looking at the forecast for the future, looking at what most people were saying, considering the effects of what was going to happen when the furlough system stopped. And I said a whole host of things which turned out to be completely wrong. We massively underestimated what the effectiveness of the furlough scheme and the way in which the country was going to bounce back after COVID-19. No one really saw it coming. So I'm very reluctant now, after doing that 12 months ago, now to give a forecast and say, well, this is what is going to happen over the next 12 months, since I was so spectacularly wrong in the last 12 months. As it stands at the moment, it is actually difficult to see how the labour market is going easily to satisfy the requirements that there are for the economy. So at the moment, it looks as though there should not be a significant amount of additional pressure in terms of numbers of individuals who are going to be claiming the benefit. It doesn't look very likely, but again, I'm very reluctant to be certain about that. We have carefully consulted with everyone, and we haven't considered that it's necessary at this time to make any significant changes to the system. I'm not anticipating that there are going to be massive changes to the numbers of people coming through the system, whether we're talking about pensioner claimants or non-pensioner claimants. I'm not anticipating a major change taking place, but after so many of us were so badly wrong 12 months ago, I couldn't guarantee that that's going to be the case.
Yeah, another question. Also in the report, it mentions about the shortfall last year being made up due to the change in the way we charged for council tax on empty homes. But given that the officer is very proactive in bringing those back into use, and then the council tax obviously will be back to the normal rate rather than the enhanced rate, obviously that shortfall will then in a way peter off, because we won't be getting in as much money from those, which we've solved one problem by having less homes that are falling apart, but then we've got another problem of we've got less money coming in, and so more of a funding gap. So do you anticipate that will change much in the next year or two?
Thank you very much for that question as well. The facts, as have been set out in the report, are correct. However, it can be argued that we're not quite comparing like with like here, because there is no really substantial direct correlation between the monies which we receive by bringing empty homes back into utilisation and the way in which the council tax support scheme works. So whilst I'm not saying for one second that the numbers, that the facts which are in the report are wrong, I would question whether they are entirely relevant, because the two matters aren't really that closely correlated. So I don't actually believe, just as you suggested, that it will continue that way, but it's not really relevant that it does continue that way. Do I have any further points or questions from members or from officers? Nothing else. Thank you very much. Since there are no further speakers, the recommendations are set out on page 67, and I'll now put the item to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Once again, that is unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. The recommendations have been agreed. Agenda item 10 on page 91, we have the draft 6-month Cabinet Forward Plan, which has been presented to you on pages 91 and 92 of the agenda. Are there any questions or comments on that? Councillor Mrs. French.
Thank you. Within the next few months, can we have some kind of update with regard to civil parking enforcement and how officers are getting on with county council with regard to the contract?
Thank you, Councillor Mrs. French. I think that's a perfectly reasonable request, and we will ensure that that does get included on the 6-month forward plan. Any other comments or questions from members? Thank you. The forward plan is therefore noted for information. Agenda item 11, there are no urgent items which need to be discussed, and that therefore marks the end of the meeting. I declare the meeting closed, with the next meeting of Cabinet scheduled to take place on the 3rd of February 2022. Thank you very much indeed for your attendance, members, officers, and those accessing the meeting via YouTube.